colors don't just look good, they actually make us feel things. Whether or not we know it, colors give us some sort of a feeling, whether it's excitement, whether it's sadness.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge.
And settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 156, and today we're diving into a topic that is more than meets the eye, literally. We are going to talk about the importance of color theory and why you need to know about it for your brand.
I'm so excited for this episode. Abby's probably going to learn stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to learn stuff.
I love teaching Abby stuff because I feel like I don't know hardly anything about SEO. I do.
That's not true.
I don't give myself enough credit, but man, that world is got a lot going on.
Ditto with this one.
But so we're going to talk about color theory today, why it's important for your brand, and talk about like colors meaning more than just a visual thing that we see. They mean so much more than just the color that we see from our eyes and are a part of our designs. So, but a little stat, I'm going to throw a little stat at you. Up to 90% of Snap judgments about products, so this is products specifically, are based on color alone. And that is so huge. And I think branding in particular, products get a lot of love when the branding is done right. But color alone, if you think about products in the digital space or in the store space, they're competing, especially at store, they're competing for your attention. So what better than to capture their attention with color? So I want to just give a little backstory. Abby and I, if you follow along, we used to work in the agency world. And a lot of what we did was market to shoppers at like Target. So Target was one of our main retailers. And when we worked on actual products or displays within Target, like their aisles or their end caps, a lot of what we had to think about was the color and capturing their attention because we want them to stop. We want them to pick that product up and purchase that product. So I remember vividly working on, did you work on Pete's Coffee with me, actually? Yeah, so Pete's Coffee, we did some aisle reinvention work for them at Target, and a lot of it was trying to pull them in with color and trying to pull them in with this like really beautiful display. And gosh, there was another product I swear we worked on that was all about like bringing them in with color. So we were exploring a lot of package design colors and like how we could really entice the shopper to see that product amongst all of the other products that was going to be surrounding them. So it's huge to think about color, especially with products when you're in spaces like that where you really have to compete for people's attention. One of the brands that I always stop and look at, I don't purchase them, so they're not like hooking me in, but it's because I like mac and cheese brand better than their brand is what is it?
Annie's?
No, it starts with a W. Why am I totally
it's
breaking
a mac
away?
and cheese?
Yeah. Why do I want to say
Goodles?
Goodles. Sorry, It doesn't start with a W.
That doesn't start with a W.
I don't know why I was thinking W. No, Goodles. So when you're at shelf in Target, this is where I see Goodles specifically a lot, Whole Foods too, but their aisle is so bright and vibrant and so fun to look at.
But have you had Goodles?
I have, and I just like
really.
I'm such a like.
Oh, they're good.
I'm like such a trash, gross mac and cheese girl.
But you have to get the like flavor, the different flavors.
The different flavors, not just the like straight up.
Yes.
Cheese.
You can't go for original with them.
Okay, you always have to go to mac and cheese for original. Okay, I'll try their other flavors. But I'm sure if you have seen Goodles, you know what I'm talking about. Like their brand is just vibrant and so fun at shelf, and you're going to see them. Like you're not going to miss them. Like mac and cheese doesn't stand out on shelf like Goodles does. So just a little backstory there on like how color can really influence our purchases and the emotions that we get when we interact with colors. So whether you're starting a new brand or refreshing an existing one, choosing those right colors is critical and crucial. And sometimes your brand might need to use a color that you don't necessarily like. And that's tough because obviously at the end of the day, you want to love your brand, but these colors have so many more meanings than just their actual color, and how you want your client and your audience to interact with your brand. A lot is based on the color that you use.
Fun fact, Courtney doesn't like orange.
I'm not a huge orange fan, no. And Abby even brought that up when we were designing our brand. She's just like, well, how are you going to use the orange? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to just steer away from it? And I'm like, no, I mean, I have to lean into it.
Well, it was funny because, so if you have followed along with us for a while, you know that our brand right now is pink and orange and bright, and we have some blue sprinkled in too, and it's just a lot brighter, and it evokes our personality and who we are, and it matches us really well. And before that, we had a very beautiful brand. It was very aesthetically pleasing. It was like beiges and creams, and we were
like the sad beige.
We were
like the fun sad beige brand.
Our brand voice and personality never changed.
No.
Like, we were still the same, but now our brand really matches our voice and personality, I think, whereas before it was really beautiful, but it had an elevated look, which I think our brand still has now, but it was like, that was it. You didn't look at it before and you weren't like, this is fun and playful.
Right.
Whereas now you get the elevated with the fun and playful. So it's like, it's just different. But it was funny because I think there was a point where I was like, Courtney, you're not using our orange at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't.
You were like,
I wasn't.
I know, I don't like it.
Yeah. If you scroll back on our Instagram, that'd be the best way to see like the drastic change for our brand. You'll see exactly when it changed. And we changed the tone of our our orange changed. It wasn't quite the same orange.
Yeah.
And because that's the biggest shift in our rebrand was our color, for sure. That changed drastically. But as soon as people saw it, like, people loved it. Well, first of all, people were like, I love your brand. Why are you changing your brand? And that was terrifying.
Yeah.
But then once we did, it aligned to our personalities and how we work with people, how we show up every day, the people that we are when we're not working. It aligned to us so much better that people can relate to us on a different level and better now. I think if it weren't for our fun copy and tone with our old brand, you could probably see how that would be like a more serious, like quote unquote serious brand.
Yeah.
Where now we're fun, we're playful, we're relatable.
Yeah.
Like, we like to have a good time.
Yeah. And I think I've always loved orange. Not that I like to wear orange. It's not like, green is my favorite color, like, by far. And we have no green in our brand, which makes me sad. But I do own a lot.
I'm sorry.
I know. No, it's fine, because I actually don't think green would make sense in our brand. It doesn't feel... If
it was
like
an
the
energetic,
right
bright green.
Maybe, yeah. But it just doesn't make sense. I love green, like, I love to wear it, and that's like my favorite color, I would say. Like, my house has green paint all over. Like, it's just my favorite color from that respect. But it doesn't feel like a good color for a brand. So I love that you bring it up, because it's like, you don't have to just go for your favorite colors. Exactly. I think it's also like what the colors mean. And I've always loved what orange means. And it's like optimism, creativity, energy, motivation. Like, that is us. And orange has always felt like something that's been like, it's been a part of our brand since day one.
It has, yeah.
And so even though the tone of it has changed a little bit, the meaning behind it is something that I feel like has always been a part of Duo. Like, I don't see orange ever going away for that reason. No,
it won't. I think it's like, it was the base. It was like our base color, right? It was the color we started with, and it's always going to be with us. Now it might evolve and change, but we're always going to have some aspect of orange in our brand.
Yeah. So that's why we're here today, is to talk about that exact feeling of, just because our favorite colors aren't the ones that you're going to see in our brand doesn't mean that we don't love our brand colors, and that our brand absolutely represents, the colors represent everything we want our brand to be, and it's perfect. And I find myself actually, like, now when we go to shop or we go anywhere, I'm always like, oh, this matches our brand. Like, double reason to buy it.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Like, you can justify it. You look at your husband and you're like, well, no, it's for our brand, so...
Sorry, I have to buy
it. Also, I feel like pink and orange, after we rebranded, it's almost like pink and orange, that duo took off.
Yeah.
I see it everywhere.
And now for Halloween.
I don't know if that's because once you see something, you see it more.
Yeah.
Could be that thing. Like when you're car shopping, you see the same car you want to buy all the time. But anyway, so I'm glad you brought that up because it doesn't have to be a color you love. I think a lot of people get hung up on colors that they love, but they don't actually do the research to figure out how their audience is going to react with that color and how that color is going to make their audience feel. So we're going to start off with just this question, which colors should you use? And we're going to kind of dive into some of that today. And then we're going to talk about some brands that do color really well later. So you have some examples to kind of go off of. But really, there's no easy answer to this question because if you search for brand color theory online, you're going to find a ton of articles that break down what each color quote unquote means. So for example, you're going to find that warm colors like red, orange, yellow, they tend to create a sense of excitement, energy, warmth, confidence, while cooler colors like blue, purple are dependable, strong, and secure. But it's not really that straightforward because something as simple as changing the shade or tone of a color can create different emotions. So you need to think through that, not just the base color, but like the shade of the color and how you're using the color to interact with your audience. So an example that I found online when I was kind of doing some stuff for this is the Barbie pink and the T-Mobile pink. If you think of those pinks, they are essentially almost the exact same color. But because of the vastly different brand voices and their strategies behind how they market and talk to their audience, that pink evokes a much different reaction for those different audiences. So we're going to get into this a little bit more, but if you think about that, you think about those two pinks, they are almost exactly the same color. But these brands both have different strategies. They both have different missions, different voices, different audiences. They might also have the same audience, but they're reaching their audiences in different spaces of their lives, right? So T-Mobile, you're looking for a phone, you're looking for a carrier, you're looking for trust, dependability. Barbie, you're looking for fun, imagination, creation, and you're looking for this most likely for a little girl in your life, maybe a little boy. My brother played with Barbies. Yeah. So really thinking through the color deeper than what you see with your eye. So color theory at its core is the study of how colors interact and how they can evoke emotions, influence people's decisions, communicate messages. It's not always about what's pretty, which is sad to say from a designer's perspective, but a lot of the times it's about what works. So we're going to kind of go back to the elementary days here. I was talking to Abby prior to this episode and I was like, is this dumb? Like, should we talk about this part? Do people really care? And I even asked her, I'm like, if you were listening to this podcast, would you give a shit about these basics? But I think it's good to know. And you can dive into so much more of just like these basics here, but we're going to kind of just take you through.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that if you are not a brand designer or a brand expert, you don't even think about this, at all. You don't think about the difference between the basics of colors and how changing one thing can make a big deal for a brand, especially from an emotional standpoint. And so I think going back to the very, very basics is a good thing to remember because when you are paying for someone to redo your brand, you're paying for this level of expertise, for someone to truly understand what a color can do for you. Because again, it's not just about the visual aspect of how it appears in your logo. It's about that feeling it evokes. And when someone lands on your website and you can evoke a feeling right off the bat, that's pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. Color is a very powerful tool that we don't give enough credit to, yes. I don't believe. So we're going to go back to the elementary days and start with these basics. So the first one that I think a lot of people probably know about, this is the most basic, probably the most popular one, is the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. These colors are the building blocks of all of the other colors. So we talk about this later, but the primary colors, you want to have at least one primary color in your palette, usually, if it works for your brand. Secondary colors, greens, oranges, purples, and these colors are made by mixing your primary colors. Fun fact if you didn't know that. Tertiary colors, these are the in-betweens like teal or magenta. So they're colors that are usually fun, playful, but maybe not as primary as some of those primary and secondary colors that you see often. I would say primary colors, a lot of corporate companies use primary colors. A lot of corporate businesses you will notice have primary colors within their brand. Then there's the temperature of colors. So we've got warm colors, cool colors, kind of talked about this a little bit, but warm colors are your reds, oranges, yellows. These are really energizing and attention grabbing. Cool colors are blues, greens, purple. Again, these can mean calming, trustworthy, dependability. And again, I was going to say warm colors you see a lot within the corporate industry, but you see a lot of cool colors too. So it's really interesting to kind of see what people use out there. But again, when you think of more corporate-y companies, when you think of the warmer and the cooler colors, a lot of them, again, lean into those primary colors.
Yeah, cool is a lot of like technology.
Tech, yes.
And yeah, it is a lot of tech and healthcare and things like that. Those are a lot of the cooler colors, where like warmer can be the color like Target. You know?
Like your shopping experiences, your things like that. Yeah. And then finally, we have color harmony. So these are things like complementary colors. These sit opposite each other on the color wheel. So if you're not familiar with the color wheel, just Google it and you'll find tons of images.
We'll put a little link in our show notes.
Yeah, and it'll break it down for you on what that is. But like a lot of complementary colors, think red and green like Christmas. So they're two colors that you kind of wouldn't think would go together, but oddly enough, they do. And a lot of complementary colors, you'll see a lot of them within like holidays, or I even like to say sports teams. Sports teams use a lot of complementary colors, famous teams. And then analogous colors are next to each other. So blue, teal, green, they're next to each other on that color wheel. And then triadic colors form a triangle on the color wheel. So red, blue, and yellow would be an example of that. So really just understanding these basics helps make better choices when you are creating your brand and thinking through some of those colors. It's just good basic knowledge to know when it comes to colors.
Literally never heard of half of those words before. So.
Well, there you go. We can do an episode on each one of them. So the next thing that we're going to dive into are like, what do these colors say about your brand? So we've said this time and time again, colors don't just look good. They actually make us feel things. Whether or not we know it, colors give us some sort of a feeling, whether it's excitement, whether it's sadness, whether it's feeling like that brand is dependable because of their colors, trustworthy, excitable. These colors make us feel something, whether or not it's a conscious thing that's happening in our brain. So we're going to talk through a few examples of what colors can communicate with some of these fun brand examples. So we're going to just give a few colors here and a brand that ties to that color and how they do it well. But then we're going to really dive into a few other brands later and why their brand does so well with color and kind of that personal experience that you feel when you interact with that brand and that color. So red is the first one. So red really can mean passion, urgency, excitement. It's one of those warm colors. And a brand that does really well with red is Coca-Cola. We all know this. So anytime you see Coca-Cola, you're almost always going to see their iconic red. Target is also a good one that does well with red. So their bright red packaging really embodies that excitement, that passion. It aligns to the brand's dynamic of being refreshing and having that energetic feel to it.
And if you think too about like how the brand show, like in commercials and stuff, like Coca-Cola is always focusing on the bubbles, like that
the
movement and the
effervescent
energy.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that feel. And that also embodies the same thing that red does for their brand too.
I also love the Coca-Cola trucks, semi-trucks, the big red ones. Like they're just so iconic. And then the Christmas one where it actually is lit up. It's just a very iconic thing. And you know that Coca-Cola is going to do it and they do it really well. Yeah. And it's something that sticks with you. Like it sticks in your brain.
Yeah. And so blue is evoking trust, dependability, and calm. So if we think about an example for this, think about the Calm app, which is obviously speaks to the name Calm, blue, Calm. It's a meditation app. So this one really, they have a few different colors in there, like a few different tones of blue. Yep. And because of that, you are kind of seeing and feeling this tranquility and trust and overall just kind of focusing on these stress relief solutions. And when you are in a like anxious state and you need that stress relief, you need to know that this app is going to bring you that sense of calm and that sense of trust. So that's kind of where that color really pulls in to evoke those feelings.
And so I'm going to take you to a place in your brain right now. Just think of if you opened that Calm app and it was red.
Yeah.
and you wanted to de-stress, you wanted to relax, you wanted to breathe, you wanted to meditate, how do you think opening an app like that with red would make your brain feel? You probably wouldn't instantly feel calm. You might actually feel a little stressed out or nervous or on edge, because red is not going to make you feel calm. So you have to take that color like where your brain is going to take you in that space. So that's why the Calm Meditation app obviously is going to use blue, because it already starts to make your brain feel calm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next one is yellow. I feel like all people are going to be like, oh my gosh, cheerfulness, energy, because that's what yellow does. Like even when we think of the sun, you know, you think of the color yellow, and everybody loves the sun. We love sunshine. Well, if you don't, I don't know if we could be friends, but the sun, the warmth, the vitamin D, the energy that it gives you. So an example that I like to talk about is Sun Bum. So they're not like a flashy yellow, right? Sun Bum isn't, but they've got this kind of light sunny yellow brand color. Their packaging aligns perfectly kind of with that beachy theme. It's got that cheerful vibe that they aim to promote. It's got their cute little logo. So I always like to the Sun Bum sunscreen actually like gets you kind of excited and cheerful and like ready to take that sunscreen, put it in your beach bag, go to the beach and enjoy your beautiful sunny warm day.
Yeah. McDonald's is another one, obviously, like the golden arches,
Arches, yes.
I feel like same thing, though, if you think about that brand, is they are happiness, like Happy Meals. Happiness is like something that McDonald's evokes always, like in addition to value, but I'd say like happiness is the true core. It like part of their brand is like.
And that's why they use the yellow.
Yeah, absolutely. So green, we're thinking of growth, health, relaxation, a lot of natural food brands, health-focused wellness will use this color. So think about Whole Foods, like that deep green in their brand is really representing the health, the sustainability, their commitment to fresh and organic products. And because of that, that color is really strong for them. And you know, before you even walk into a store, that you are getting something that is going to be healthy and good for you. Fresh. Like you just, you feel confident before you even get into the store because the brand has already evoked those feelings.
And you feel better leaving the store because you feel like you're
you feel better because you bought the food, but your wallet feels sadder.
Yeah, that green part of your life feels much...
That green is gone.
Yeah, that's depressing. Okay, so the next one is purple. So you might be thinking like, wow, how does purple make me feel? Purple is a very creative color, but also like a luxurious color. So you're like, purple, luxury, how? Cadbury does I think like London, like England, like castles and royalty. Yes, royalty. Yeah. So Cadbury does a really good job of this because they have that really rich purple. So it's funny that you say that. It's like this regal purple in their packaging that symbolizes that indulgence and that luxury of biting into one of their pieces of chocolate. And when you take a bite of some of their chocolates, it really does feel like this special, luxurious treat that you're giving yourself. Like, you're not going to eat a ton of these, right? You're not going to have one each day. But when you do have it, it's that luxurious kind of self-care moment that you're having. And they really elevate it to make it a little bit more luxurious with that rich purple that they use.
Yeah. Two other brands that really like play on that too. Hallmark, like the Crown, Hallmark, like classics, and Wimbledon, the like tennis tournament. I think both of those are like definitely evoke that like luxury, royalty. High end kind of feel as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then black, so sophistication and power. So Chanel really owns this space, that like sleek black branding that has this timeless sophistication to it. You understand that it is elegant. It's something that just has like this iconic status in the fashion world. As we were talking about some of these too, another thing that kind of came to mind when we were talking about red was Peloton. Like, that's a brand I use all the time, and they use both black and red. And I was thinking through this, and I was like, it's really interesting because black does like that sophistication and power of like taking control of your health. Yep. And Peloton, it's so interesting because they have this like energy, this like power behind it. but they also have like the meditation, the yoga, the sense of calm and trust and all of that. And when you take their classes, it's the environment that you're taking those classes in is different. So like when you're doing like calm and meditation, you are usually, it's like a white background. And there are like some undertones of color that are like either warm yellows or blues. But when you're doing a ride in like a cycle class, it's like, it's black, it's dark, it's like powerful. Like the energy there is really strong. And those are most likely very conscious decisions on the brand.
Absolutely.
Whereas the brand overall, like the black and red, can help evoke that, like, the reason why you are going to buy Peloton is because you, in the moment when you're buying it, are taking action. And then when you're interacting with the brand, they kind of adapt and change to what they are.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. I had Peloton in here as an example that I was going to talk through, but I was like, gosh, I don't really know Peloton because I don't interact with Peloton, but you do. So I'm really glad you brought that up because like that's a really good example of like how color has to change within a brand, right? So it's not like those colors aren't their brand core colors, but they know how they have to use color within their app based on where their clientele is, whether they're meditating, whether they're cycling, like that feeling changes. So that color has to change and evolve with that.
Yeah. And also thinking about like the different stages of your brand has to grow with you, and it has to be able to adapt to the different stages of the customer journey. So when someone's ready to purchase versus when someone's interacting with your brand, how are they going to feel? And does the brand palette you have for your brand, does it work throughout the whole customer journey? Like from purchase to interaction to post-purchase.
Yeah. So. It's wild to think about.
It is.
You guys are probably like mind blown and probably like, you're either shutting this off because you're like, I'm too overwhelmed, or you're like, wait, talk more about the rainbow.
Yeah, right. It's fun.
So you really have to think about, again, your brand's personality and how you're going to show up and when you're going to show up, like Abby just said, and the different levels of where you're going to show up. So asking yourself questions like, is my brand bold and energetic, or is it calm and trustworthy? Maybe it's sophisticated and exclusive. Your colors should help reflect that to make those personality and those feelings come through for your audience. So,
okay, can I give people a homework item?
Oh, absolutely. I love homework.
I want you to take your website or take a screenshot of your website, and I want you to post it into ChatGPT or Gemini, and I want you to ask the tool what feelings your website evokes.
Ooh, well, now we got to do
your brand. Yeah. And we'll do this, and then we'll share it in our stories when we publish this episode. But I want you to then see if those feelings that it evokes match who you want to be.
Your audience.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Fun little exercise.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So we are going to break down. So now we talked briefly about some brands here, but we're going to really break down a couple of popular brands that do color really well. And we're going to kind of do like one has one color, one has multiple colors, one works with primary colors, and one has a gradient. So we're kind of taking you through like the whole gamut of colors here. So the first one that we're talking about is Tiffany & Co. And I feel like when I say Tiffany, everybody knows exactly what color that is. Like I say the word Tiffany, you know the color. That's how strong that brand is dependent on their Tiffany blue. So Tiffany's iconic blue is synonymous with luxury, elegance, timeless romance. It's soft yet striking and is distinctive and evokes feelings of exclusivity, because when you think Tiffany, you think that you're getting something very high-end, very exclusive, because they are exclusive, and you're thinking sophistication. It's not just a color, right? Because when I said Tiffany, your brain probably immediately was like, oh, obviously Tiffany blue. It's more than just a color, because it's that experience that someone signifies that special moment, whether it's a gift or something that they're going to cherish forever. So when we break it down into that personal experience, it's like unwrapping that signature blue box feels like magic, like you're holding a piece of tradition and refinement. The color alone speaks volumes, making the entire experience feel intimate and memorable. So when you interact with Tiffany, you have all of these feelings going on. And a lot of those feelings is not just the end product itself, it's the brand and how they've made themselves visually appeal to their audience with just using that iconic blue. And you instantly just think of that iconic blue Tiffany box when you think of Tiffany. So it's crazy how just that one blue can really evoke all of those emotions within that Tiffany brand.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things to keep in mind is like we talked about what blue stands for. Like we talked about like trust, dependability, calm. It doesn't mean that like Tiffany, like you don't open a box and feel calm, but you do feel trust and dependability. You do know that this is a product that is going to last. It's a customer service that you can trust. It is high-end luxury. Like you have those feelings from their blue, and it's not like a blue color. I mean, we talked about how the shades can do different things. And so like I'm sure if they slightly changed the shade of that, it could evoke a different feeling. Right. But they've also taken that blue and they have made it iconic very intentionally. And they've used that color in all the right places to create that experience. So it's not just about having the color tied to your brand, but then it's about creating that experience of where are they engaging with those colors? Like, how are you choosing to use them?
And if you think about the Tiffany blue, if it was the primary blue, if it was that darker blue, it wouldn't have that same feeling. No, it wouldn't at all. They intentionally have this lighter blue that's a little softer, a little bit more sophisticated, and not as heavy. Yeah. Because these are moments where you want them to feel that sophistication, that lightness, that exclusivity. So by choosing that blue, they were very intentional with that blue. Like it's not that primary or royal blue. It's this soft, light, high-end blue,
which also makes it more romantic, and the reason why it's being used in a lot more of the like weddings and like that romance feel and like just that softness of it brings out the more romantic feeling than a harsh blue would.
Yep. So the next brand is Welly. So if you haven't heard of this brand, it's like a Band-Aid brand. It's the cutest Band-Aid brand I've ever seen. When I had Mila, I was like, not that you want your kid to get a scratch or anything, but I was like, oh, I'm buying these cute Band-Aids now, not these ugly nude naked ones. So why bright and playful colors? If you've ever seen Welly, they are very bright and colorful. So this cheerful and vibrant brand and packaging featuring, the bold patterns, the lively colors, really reflects their mission to make first aid less daunting and more approachable. Because if you think of first aid, it's not a fun topic. It's not, you don't want to have to put Band-Aids on your kids. Like I said, you don't want to have to treat, owies, but it's going to happen. And why not make it a more kind of fun and approachable and easy experience than like just slapping a daunting, ugly Band-Aid on your kid.
And think too, like they did their research before they created this brand, clearly.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
That whole like Johnson & Johnson, they own like Band-Aid. Like it's not Welly Band-Aids because Band-Aids is trademarks. It's what do they call it? I can't even think about it. But the Johnson & Johnson owns Band-Aids. Band-Aids brand, you see that, you automatically know trust, dependability. Like, you know they are the leaders in the space for a reason. They're everywhere. So that's why, just like Kleenex, this is why you say Kleenex, not tissue. Like,
right. Kleenex is a brand.
Yeah.
It's not an actual product.
So it's something where like they needed to stand out at shelf. Like this is a product that absolutely had to stand out at shelf, and they knew that if they went the same route that Johnson & Johnson did with the sterile kind of like dependability, like we're going to be the best Band-Aids for you, they're going to fail because
Johnson & Johnson wins that.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson has way more money than you. How are you going to stand out at shelf and really make a splash? And so they went the total opposite with those bright colors and making sure that one, not only the bright colors are there, but also that it ties back to their mission.
Yeah. So they're just bandages because obviously they can't say
bandages.
They can't say Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But they have done a really, really good job, and obviously it's something fun that you want to interact with your kids. So when your kid sees them, and if your kid loves them, you're obviously going to keep going back to that brand over and over and over again. So the personal experience with them is like those colors, they make you smile when you spot them on the shelf. Again, they do a really good job when you see them on the shelf next to, other brands that are just more sterile. These ones stand out. It feels like a little boost of encouragement, when you're helping your kid if they have some sort of an owie or something. And then it's really turning what could be that really mundane necessity into something that's uplifting and thoughtful. So you like to purchase Band-Aids, or you're looking at the Band-Aid and you're excited to show your kids that, if they do get a scrape, this is the Band-Aid that you're going to be putting on their skin and they're going to love and they're going to keep pointing at. And my Mila's like, puppy, puppy.
Yeah, except when you can't find the one pattern they want in the box, you want to pull your hair out.
Oh,
so.
I haven't ran into that yet.
Oh, it's fun. But they are very cute. And I bought them for a reason, because they stood out at shelves.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Okay, let's talk about Google, because I didn't even notice this until Courtney brought it up as an example. And she was like, do you realize that Google's brand is all primary colors? And I don't think I've ever really taken note to the fact that that was very intentional.
Very intentional.
I just think
although
they're a rainbow or whatever.
The one color, green.
Yeah.
Is it the L?
I can't think of what color.
I think it's the L. Peek at it real quick, but I'm pretty sure it's the L. And I was doing a little bit of research on that, and the reason that they had the green in there is because they wanted to break it up a little bit to show that they can break the rules. They do have a little bit of fun. They're not just those primary colors. So the L, or the green L, was very intentional as well.
That's crazy. And it makes sense. Like, the primary colors are something that is very, basic and just a part of your everyday life, right? But then, incorporating that innovation, which is something that they're very good at. It's really interesting to see that in a logo that it already evokes all the feelings, but again, they chose for you to feel that way from the very beginning, and you didn't even realize it.
Right. And when you think of these brands, these tech brands, you think of they use one color, right? One primary color, where Google's like, no, we're going to use all the primary colors, throw a little green L in there for funsies, because we're not too serious, but we're serious, but we're not too serious. So they like to have a little bit of fun too. So I thought that including that in there was a really interesting one. And they do use those primary colors in a very intentional way. Me, personally, I am not a primary colors fan. I do not care for primary colors. It's just not my jam, because I feel like a lot of them together are they're heavier colors. They're bolder, heavier colors.
They're
but
pretty.
They work really, really well for Google and how they've used them.
Yeah.
So the next one we're going to talk about is Instagram. So the reason I wanted to bring up Instagram is because, first of all, if you look back at Instagram's old logo, that dingy brown iconic camera, ooh, that was bad. I worked back then, I'm sure. But when you look at the evolution of Instagram's logo and how they've adapted color, they've done a really good job. So the reason I wanted to bring up Instagram is because they use gradient, a gradient color. So you don't see this a lot with especially corporate brands, but it is out there a little bit. But Instagram's gradient blend of these warm pinks, oranges, and purples is really got this dynamic feeling to it, right? And it's full of energy. It helps symbolize that connection, which is what they want in their space. Creativity. We talked about how orange and pink really embody creativity. And they wanted to make sure that when people are on their app and interacting within Instagram's world, that they're able to give a self-expression, right? You're able to come there, self-express yourself, show your world and what it is you're doing. And they wanted it to feel warm and have that community sense. And you can come onto that platform, feel creative, post what you want, and really kind of thrive and evolve in that space. So they have intentionally used all of those colors within that gradient to make sure that you're a part of an experience and a community where you feel like you can be creative and you can thrive and you can show up as you want. So they've really done a good job of using that gradient. And anytime I think of a gradient and I think of kind of Instagram's backstory, I always visualize it kind of like a lava lamp. Anytime I see gradients, I'm always like, there's movement there. It's not moving, but there's movement there. And I think that's what's so interesting with Instagram's use of the gradient is that they started a movement, and people are on this app and constantly changing and evolving and creating and showing different forms of self-expression. So it's always kind of moving. So I always just kind of always think about gradients with this movement factor to it, which is really kind of fun.
Yeah.
If you liked this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.